As the political landscape in the United States continues to evolve, a palpable tension simmers beneath the surface as Democrats seek to limit the influence of former President Donald Trump on federal agencies. With Trump's recent elevation to a prominent political role, concerns have erupted regarding the potential consequences of his leadership style and decision-making processes on the nation's governance. The ramifications of these developments extend beyond mere party politics, raising significant questions about the future of democratic norms and the functioning of government agencies. In a recent statement, a prominent Democratic figure remarked, "We cannot afford to let the past dictate our future." Trump's approach to governance is a clear departure from the principles that uphold our democracy. This sentiment reflects a growing apprehension among Democrats that Trump's administration-style tactics could undermine the efficacy and integrity of federal agencies. The push for reform has prompted discussions about the need for comprehensive oversight mechanisms to shield governmental functions from partisan influence. The urgency behind these discussions stems from past experiences during Trump's presidency, where many agencies faced unprecedented upheaval. Critics argue that his administration often prioritized loyalty over expertise, leading to significant disruptions in operations and a loss of institutional knowledge. The agencies must remain focused on their core missions, not succumb to political whims, stated a senior Democratic ally. The call for robust safeguards is increasingly seen as a necessary step to restore public trust in government. Additionally, the political climate has intensified amid increasing scrutiny of Trump's allies in key government positions. As Democrats rally to counteract any potential consolidation of power, they are advocating for legislative measures aimed at reinforcing accountability and transparency within federal agencies. Proposals include implementing stricter guidelines for political appointees and enhancing whistleblower protections to ensure that employees can report misconduct without fear of retaliation. The ramifications of these efforts extend to the broader public, with many citizens expressing concern over the direction of government under Trump's influence. In a recent survey, over 60% of respondents indicated that they believe Trump's return to power would further erode trust in government institutions. This statistic underscores the urgency of the Democrats' mission to re-establish a sense of stability and reliability in governance. As the political landscape shifts, the discourse surrounding these issues continues to evolve. Critics of Trump's agenda assert that any attempt to diminish the role of critical government functions such as scientific research, foreign aid, and consumer protections would not only be a disservice to the public but also a fundamental failure of government. "We cannot allow a narrative that equates dismantling essential services with efficiency to take hold," warned a Democratic strategist. Looking ahead, the Democratic Party faces formidable challenges as it seeks to navigate the complex interplay of power, governance, and public perception. The balance between maintaining party unity and addressing the pressing concerns of constituents will be crucial in shaping their strategies as the 2024 elections approach. In conclusion, as Democrats intensify their efforts to limit Trump's influence on federal agencies, the implications of these actions resonate across the political spectrum. The stakes are high, and the outcome will not only determine the future of the Democratic Party but also the very fabric of American democracy itself. As the nation stands at a crossroads, the developments in the coming months will be pivotal in defining the trajectory of governance and civic engagement in the United States. In the ever-evolving landscape of American politics, few figures have managed to navigate the tumultuous waters as deftly as Senator Susan Collins of Maine. Now, as former President Donald Trump resumes a prominent role in the political arena, Collins finds herself once again at a crossroads, facing pressures from both sides of the political spectrum. Her recent votes and statements underscore her unique position as a moderate Republican in a party increasingly dominated by Trump's influence. Since Trump's return to office, Collins has made headlines for her mixed responses to his administration's appointments and policies. Notably, she voted against confirming Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, citing concerns over his qualifications. In contrast, she has supported other key appointments, including backing Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services. "I always hear from people on both sides of the aisle who are unhappy with some of my votes or actions," Collins remarked, illustrating the delicate balance she maintains in her role. As the only Republican senator representing a state that leaned Democratic in the 2024 elections, Collins is acutely aware of the political landscape she must navigate. Her independence has been both a strength and a source of frustration for her party's right wing. In anticipation of her re-election bid in 2026, she understands that winning will require a careful balancing act, satisfying the conservative base while retaining her appeal to moderate voters. Republican strategist Matt Gorman noted, "Most Republicans and Republicans with good sense understand that running in Maine is not the same as running in a deep red state." Collins has long been known for her willingness to break with party lines, a trait that has become more pronounced since Trump's return to power. Her recent criticisms of Trump's attempts to halt congressionally directed spending and her outspoken concerns over proposed cuts to medical research funding demonstrate her commitment to her constituents' interests. "The president's effort to pause billions of dollars in federal spending is far too sweeping," she stated, emphasizing Congress's authority over budgetary matters. This pattern is reminiscent of her actions during the first Trump administration, where she opposed efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act and voted against several of Trump's more controversial nominees. Yet she has also supported significant legislation during Trump's tenure, including the pivotal vote that confirmed Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a decision that played a crucial role in her subsequent re-election campaign in 2020. Looking ahead to 2026, Collins has already declared her intent to run for a sixth term, a move that could solidify her status as Maine's longest-serving senator. However, her path to re-election is fraught with challenges. The National Republican Senatorial Committee has signaled its commitment to invest heavily in her campaign, with estimates ranging from $400 million to $600 million to secure her seat. This financial backing underscores the importance of her position in a party eager to maintain its influence in a state that has shown increasing Democratic leanings. Despite the support, Collins must remain vigilant against potential challenges from within her party. The rise of pro-Trump factions could complicate her campaign, especially if they choose to mount a conservative primary challenge. "If she's not the Republican nominee in Maine, it won't be good," Collins noted, reflecting her awareness of the stakes involved. As the political climate continues to shift, Collins' ability to navigate the complexities of her role will be closely watched. She represents a critical voice in a party grappling with its identity in the post-Trump era. The upcoming years will reveal whether Collins can sustain her independent brand while aligning with a Republican base that has increasingly embraced Trump's vision. Her journey exemplifies the challenges facing moderates in today's polarized political environment, and her decisions will undoubtedly have lasting implications for both her career and the Republican Party as a whole. In a significant development within the U.S. political landscape, the Senate Budget Committee has officially canceled the markup session for the fiscal year 2025 budget resolution originally scheduled for February 13, 2025. This cancellation reflects the ongoing tumult within the Senate as it grapples with a series of contentious nominations and proposals that have captured national attention. The budget markup was intended to consider the concurrent resolution on the budget for fiscal year 2025, yet the absence of productive dialogue points to broader issues affecting the Senate's operational effectiveness. The decision not to proceed with the markup follows a series of high-stakes hearings and votes that have underscored the intense partisan divisions currently shaping legislative processes. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's administration is making headlines with its nominations for key positions, most notably Linda McMahon's confirmation hearing for the role of Secretary of Education. McMahon, who previously headed World Wrestling Entertainment and the Small Business Administration, is facing scrutiny not only due to her past affiliations but also because of allegations related to child safeguarding during her tenure at WWE. Critics are raising alarm about her qualifications to oversee the education of millions of students, especially against the backdrop of Trump's controversial proposals to dismantle the education department entirely. In a striking twist, Trump has openly expressed his ambition to close up the Department of Education, advocating for a return to state-level control over educational policies. This has prompted robust opposition from figures such as Senator Bernie Sanders, who vehemently criticized efforts to privatize public education, warning of the dangers of creating a two-tiered education system where wealth determines access to quality education. On another front, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is poised for a critical vote regarding his confirmation as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Despite a backdrop of skepticism surrounding his views on vaccines, Kennedy's nomination appears on track for approval. His promise to reform public health agencies, particularly in light of significant government funding cuts initiated by the administration, has garnered mixed reactions from both parties. As the Senate navigates these contentious confirmations and the implications of potential budgetary constraints, the influence of technology and prominent figures in the private sector cannot be understated. Elon Musk, a notable ally of Trump, has called for the elimination of entire government agencies, advocating for a drastic overhaul aimed at increasing efficiency. This rhetoric aligns with ongoing efforts to reshape federal operations, raising questions about the future of public services and oversight. The week ahead will be pivotal for the Senate, with key votes expected on Kennedy's nomination and other administrative appointments. Observers are keenly watching how these developments will play out, especially as they relate to the president's broader agenda of government reform and regulatory rollback. In conclusion, the political atmosphere in Washington is charged with uncertainty and debate. The cancellation of the budget markup signals potential challenges for the administration's fiscal planning, while the ongoing confirmation hearings reflect a government in transition. As the Senate prepares for crucial votes, the outcomes will not only shape the immediate future of Trump's administration but also set the stage for how education and health services will be managed in the years to come. The unfolding events underscore the critical intersection of politics, governance, and public policy in shaping the American landscape. In a critical moment for U.S. foreign policy, the House GOP Foreign Affairs Committee convened a hearing on February 13, 2025 that has sparked intense discussions about the future of the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. Dubbed the USAID betrayal, this hearing features prominent witnesses including former U.S. Representative Ted Yoho, former Acting Chief Operating Officer Max Primorak, and Andrew Natsios, the former administrator of USAID. Their testimonies are set against a backdrop of shifting political dynamics following the recent elections, where Republicans regained control of both the House and Senate. The hearing aims to scrutinize the efficacy and direction of USAID, particularly in light of the agency's recent initiatives and its role in U.S. international relations. As Republicans hold a majority in Congress, there is a palpable sense of urgency to reassess USAID's strategies, especially in regions where American interests are increasingly under threat. We're here to shine a light on what we believe is a betrayal of U.S. values and interests, Yoho remarked, emphasizing the need for accountability in foreign aid distribution. Natsios, who led USAID during a tumultuous period, is expected to provide insights on the agency's historical challenges and successes. His experience could prove invaluable as Congress considers reforms aimed at bolstering U.S. influence abroad. We must ensure that our resources are being used effectively and that our aid is not only humanitarian but also strategic, he stated, hinting at the potential for a paradigm shift in how aid is perceived and implemented. This hearing is particularly timely, coming on the heels of the recent 2024 elections, which saw former President Donald Trump reclaim the presidency. His administration's stance on foreign aid has often been characterized by skepticism, raising questions about funding levels and the strategic priorities of agencies like USAID. As the Republicans embark on a new term with a strong mandate, the committee's focus on USAID could signal significant changes in U.S. foreign policy. The implications of this hearing extend beyond the confines of the committee room. With the Republican-led Congress poised to reshape the budget and potentially raise the federal debt limit by $4 trillion as indicated in related discussions, the financial resources available for foreign aid will be a hotly contested issue. The proposed budget, which includes tax cuts and expanded spending, could redefine how the U.S. engages with the world. As the committee navigates these complex issues, observers are keenly watching how the new Republican majority will leverage its power. The outcomes of this hearing could not only affect the future of USAID but also set the tone for U.S. international relations in a rapidly evolving geopolitical landscape. In conclusion, the House GOP Foreign Affairs Committee's hearing on USAID is emblematic of a broader reckoning within U.S. foreign policy. With key witnesses set to testify and a political climate ripe for change, the deliberations promise to shed light on the agency's future and its pivotal role in promoting American interests abroad. As the situation unfolds, stakeholders from various sectors will be closely monitoring the developments, eager to understand how these decisions will shape the U.S.'s global standing in years to come. In a political landscape marked by division and tension, the role of the U.S. Supreme Court has come under intense scrutiny. With the Trump administration embarking on its second term, the potential for constitutional crises looms large, raising pressing questions about the integrity of judicial independence and the rule of law. Recent developments indicate that Chief Justice John Roberts may be pivotal in determining whether the court can uphold its responsibilities amidst a backdrop of escalating challenges. The Supreme Court's recent rulings and the public's perception of its legitimacy reflect a complex interplay of political power and judicial authority. For the first time since March 2022, a national survey conducted by Marquette Law School found that a slim majority, 51%, of Americans approve of the Supreme Court's performance. This marks a notable shift from previous months, where disapproval rates had hovered around the 52% mark. Such fluctuations in public sentiment underscore the court's precarious position as it navigates politically charged issues ranging from abortion rights to presidential immunity. Chief Justice Roberts, in his year-end report delivered on December 31, 2024, emphasized the crucial role of judicial independence in maintaining the rule of law. He warned against the growing threats to this independence, suggesting that the court must operate free from political machinations. Roberts quoted retired Justice Anthony Kennedy stressing that judicial independence is meant to ensure judges fulfill their constitutional duties rather than act at their discretion. His remarks were a poignant reminder of the weighty expectations placed on the highest court in the land, especially as it faces challenges from an emboldened executive branch. The tensions between the judiciary and the Trump administration have been palpable, particularly following a series of contentious rulings. Trump's attempts to reshape fundamental rights, such as birthright citizenship, have faced legal pushback from federal judges asserting their authority to uphold constitutional principles. The administration's response has included rhetoric from figures like Vice President J.D. Vance, who has suggested that judges should not impede what he terms Trump's legitimate power. Furthermore, Elon Musk's calls for judicial impeachment have only intensified fears of encroachment on judicial independence, raising alarms about the potential erosion of constitutional checks and balances. The implications of these dynamics extend beyond the courtroom. For instance, the Supreme Court's decision to uphold a law that could lead to a ban on TikTok garnered support from 62% of Americans, highlighting a growing public appetite for action against perceived threats to national security. However, this support is tempered by a clear partisan divide, with 73% of Republicans favoring the ruling compared to a mere 54% of Democrats. This divergence illustrates how the court's decisions are increasingly viewed through a partisan lens, complicating its ability to act as a neutral arbiter. In the broader context, public confidence in the Supreme Court remains fragile. The Marquette Law School survey indicates that while 83% of Americans believe the president must adhere to Supreme Court rulings, there remains a significant portion of the population, particularly among Republicans, who question the court's authority. This skepticism comes amid a backdrop of partisan perception where many believe the court acts primarily out of political motivation rather than strict adherence to the law. As the Trump administration continues to assert its influence, the Supreme Court's role as a guardian of democracy is more critical than ever. The potential for a constitutional crisis hinges not only on the actions of the executive branch but also on the response of the judiciary. If the court were to align itself with partisan interests rather than constitutional obligations, it could undermine the very fabric of American democracy, leading to a breakdown of the rule of law. Looking ahead, the Supreme Court faces a pivotal moment. The decisions it renders in the coming months, especially concerning cases related to executive power and electoral integrity, will significantly shape the future of American governance. The stakes are high, and public confidence in the court's ability to uphold its constitutional mandate will be tested as the nation navigates this fraught political landscape. The question remains, will the Supreme Court emerge as a steadfast protector of democracy? Or will it falter under the weight of partisan pressures? Only time will tell.